I am Dr. Paneerselvam.
My dear friends, this video talks something about your budget. Budget is nothing but receipt and payment. See, when you are a bachelor or maybe an individual spinster or bachelor, when you don't have sufficient money to meet out all your expenses which you're getting from your parent or your relative, if that is not sufficient, what you'll do that earn while you learn. Something like that. You want to be engaged to create some income to meet out all your expenses. That's what is happening, especially among youth, whether it is a male or female gender. So they create income either for charging mobile or meet out their college or school expenditures or what not. That is end up with the youth. Okay, when you move to this, maybe the next category would be the family. So when there is a deficit in your family, what you do is you just subsidize it only by borrowing money from external source. Or if you don't like to borrow money, what you do is you create a generate income by employing either one of your family members or yourself occupied or engaged in additional part-time work. That is how you do it. That is as far as the family type is concerned. So when you become a senior citizen, due to inflation, you expect little more pension either from government or from the service you have rendered last years. So that will be expected. Okay, when you move to this poor people definitely, I think, no, suddenly they cannot revise their salary, wages, or what not is in the society. What to move out of the struggle, what they do is they'll expect more the public distribution, that is rice or wheat or sugar could be at a concessional price or subsidized price, so that they could get their food at maybe a lesser price or free, like a free bees. Or they'll expect the employer to hike their price, or any free contribution may be given in the form of some lump sum money, maybe like some 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, something like that from the government. They will expect little more could help us to reduce their burden or suffering. So that's what happening among us. So now you go to the government. See, now as far as individual, a family or a senior citizen or poor, they could always have the supplementary or the way through which they could augment by way that if they can subsidize the issue of the problem to tackle the budget. Otherwise, you will end up with always deficient family, and the deficient family will end up with so much of problems and create a misunderstanding. And sometimes they'll go to the extent of self burning or maybe any kind of tragedy incidents. To get away from that, I think it's a wise decision to explore the new avenues that could help you to find a source through which you could satisfy your requirement, or without having the deficit you can manage, or otherwise break even, no any additional savings or any surplus. As for the government, especially Union Territory of Pondicherry, their budget is worth of say about 10,500 crore. That is the worth of the budget. So that will be offsuit. 70% of the money will be provided by center so far. See, now I think when you move from an individual society, you should also understand the government which is run for your welfare, which will run for your the complete governance. So the total budget value is about 10,500 rupees. 70% is always borne by the center. That is understanding. Now the state government so far has been managing with 30%. Now center says if they cannot afford to pay 70%, they want to provide only 30%. That is a ulta. Suddenly they have changed the figure from 70 to 30. Okay, the government cannot, how can they function without having sufficient money to meet out, because they cannot generate income. There are sources, but how will this problem can be overcome? So the youth as well as your younger population should understand to be aware of what is a thing to be done. That's what I want to put this as a food for thought. So what they can do is they can borrow money, but the borrow money that will also carry interest. That will be additional burden to the government. So they cannot do that. So all of a sudden, how can they go for it? Okay, they just to go for the self analysis. What is exchequer? What is shown in your collection through your direct indirect taxes. So that shows that is whether it is a kalal or whatever the tax which you collect from public, maybe like a Koppayvari or Badala Sakadayvari or whatever the taxes which you have levied, or a revision of some taxes, a revision of property tax, something like that, it is coming only 60%. So 60 plus 30, it's about 90. Then again, there is a deficit. Now, one way that you have to appreciate that the union government has stepped up, rising from 30 to 60%. That is also possible. Why? Because people have paid more taxes. Initially, they were paying only 30%, that is proportionately levied, and now it is a 60%, that is more tax has been levied. So people are shouldering the responsibility to cooperate or coincide with the government to manage their budget expenses. Okay. So there will be a question that is, your territory is attracting tourists, so why don't you take some money from the tourist revenue? It is not possible. Why? Because when a tourist is a tourist, because when people come from other places, they need a lot of expectations. So to keep all these updates, you have to spend money either for decorating or keeping the things useful for the decoration. So your updation is always required. So whatever you earn will have to be plugged away again, and you have to spend for it. Then only people will be attracted to visit frequent. So there you can know no source. So now the thing is, there are two options. Two options. One option is a 10%, I think now deficit. How will you meet out your deficit? As a, I think youth have to think to tell me that how will you offset? Only thing is, you have to charge additional taxes to the public to get back 10%. Otherwise, your budget will be deficit. So you cannot borrow because I had told you that it will carry more interest. So you have to manage. How will you manage that? You will charge additional taxes on certain things, something which the community public has to be borne. That is what the announcement I'm giving you, that I think there will be expectation of more taxes on the part of public, and the public has to be borne paying additional and more taxes on certain things, through which I think 10% could be subsidized, 10% could be managed to avoid the deficit. Would there be any other alternative? There are alternatives. There are alternatives. Normally, whether it is a union state government or any other government, they'll have to plan to know that how best your resources could be effectively utilized, effectively mobilized. That's the only source we can think of. Because no country has a population, the country has a natural resources, agriculture and brain, knowledge, wisdom, and so much of things, industries, productions, raw materials, many everywhere. Got plenty of resources. So you have to map out where are the sources and how those sources could be effectively utilized. So that is one of the sources through which you can augment your income, not only subsidize, and you can also go for reducing the rate of taxes levied on the part of the public. So that is one of the ways through which you can augment more and more revenue, employing or exhausting all your available resources. So that resources will give you sufficient revenue. Through that revenue, you can go for more kind of welfare programs or good programs for the poverty alleviations, or creating more employment opportunities, and expanding more and more industries and growth of your GDP. A lot of things could be achieved. That could be possible only through your resource mobilization or resource utilization very effectively. So now the choice is on the part of the government or the people who are supporting or supplementing their ideas. That is, one source is that you are expecting a new revision of taxes through which 10% can be met out. That's only one option. Second option is to go for a usage of your resources which is available plenty, could be effectively utilized to see that more income is generated, not only for your GDP but also for generating employment, as well as extension of more and more welfare programs for the upliftment of the poor. So now we have to wait and see that whether we are going to pay more taxes, or the resources are going to be mostly effectively utilized in the union territory. Since the union territory is one of the example which I can tell you, that is, I don't finger out only the union territory of Pondicherry. It exists everywhere. So it could be one of the solution through which I think your issue could be solved. So it is nothing but a manifestation, what we call this in spirituality. So how we are going to manifest to bring achievement, growth and welfare to the community. So let us think it over, and it's a food for thought for the public as well as especially the youth. Thanks for listening. Thank you very much.